What a football game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is our Friday morning reaction from the Bengals perspective here on No Buts About It. What's up, guys? It is Josh here from No Buts About It. Thank you so much for stopping by. And this is a fun video to make. I'm glad I get to make this video. Um, if you watched the live stream like preview thing that I did yesterday, I had no faith in this team. I'll just be flat out honest. I did not have faith in this team. They were coming in on a 4-loss streak. The Steelers were hot. They were looking good. I was like, I don't think this team's going to learn. And they learned. Zach Taylor finally learned to do the things we have been talking about on this podcast. What are things that we've been talking about on this channel? I have said multiple times that the Bengals need to learn how to control the game. They need to figure out a way to keep the ball in their hands to give their defense a rest. Well, the Bengals did that. The Bengals controlled the ball for 34 minutes and 32 seconds of yesterday's game, where the Steelers only had 25 minutes and 28 seconds. The Bengals had 72 offensive plays while the Steelers only had 54, and that resulted in the Bengals having 470 yards to the Steelers' 396 yards. Those things make a difference. That gives the defense opportunity to rest, to sit on the sideline. Yes, these guys are athletes, but they're still human. They need a break. They need a rest, and they were able to get that. Most importantly, they capitalized on defensive turnovers that these guys were able to bring in, and the guys were able to then go get a rest after not being out on the field for that long. So the first one came from Jordan Battle, a guy that we have talked about a ton on this show, a guy who, I've seen some people were still hating on him yesterday. Some people were saying, hey, we need to cut Jordan Battle. They were saying cut Geno Stone. And this is my initial reaction. I have not gone back and rewatched the game yet, so take that as you will. But I thought they both played pretty well. They both made plays yesterday. Jordan Battle, obviously, with the interception. We love that. But I thought both Geno Stone and Jordan Battle did well, all things considered. I thought the whole secondary actually played pretty well. And we're going to talk more about the hero of the secondary here in a minute. But I think we have to remember as fans that if the team has no pass rush, the secondary's job gets a lot harder because they're running around trying to chase these guys while Aaron Rodgers is standing in the pocket. There were points where Aaron Rodgers had over 10 seconds to throw yesterday. That's ridiculous. 3 seconds in the NFL is considered a long time to stand in the pocket. To give him over 10 seconds is absolutely ridiculous. And this wasn't on like a Hail Mary or something where you're dropping everyone into coverage and you've only got 3 people rushing. This was a normal first down play. The pass rush just wasn't there. Now, of course, Trey Hendrickson was out. And so that's your entire pass rush, unfortunately, because I don't know. Shamar Stewart, he was kind of getting close. He was getting some pressures, but he never actually closed in. He was running around back there. He slipped a few times. But yeah, the Bengals just had no pass rush yesterday. And the Steelers didn't really get a ton of pass rush on the Bengals either, I'd say. They had their moments. The Steelers did get 2 sacks on the Bengals. But I'd say overall, the O-line looked better than what I might have expected. Dalton Reisner ended up playing for Dylan Fairchild in that left guard position again. Threw some nice blocks for Chase Brown. That was a big help too, getting that run game going. Chase Brown ended up having like a ridiculous stat line after just kind of having nothing these last few weeks. He ended up having 11 attempts, which I'd like to see that get a little bit higher, but he also had 108 yards. So he was averaging 9.8 yards per attempt. That's insane. That's nearly a first down every time you get the carry. And if you can keep that up, that's how you win football games. especially when you're on your backup quarterback. So shout out to Chase Brown for that. Shout out to the offensive line for opening up those gaps. Ted Karras and Dalton Reisner specifically, I noticed them opening up some huge gaps, throwing some nice blocks for Chase Brown to get those nice yards. But let's go back to the defense a little bit. I moved away from the defense. I want to go back to the defense. Okay, so the linebackers, and I want to talk about this situation because I alluded to it in the preview. And we kind of had a similar situation last night with the cornerbacks, which we'll get to. Logan Wilson was once again, he was kind of benched, a defensive team captain. He didn't really see the whole lot of snaps on defense. He did play more than what he did against the Packers, though, I think. He made some plays, was exciting. I'm still not really sure why he got benched. Barrett Carter played fine. He kind of what I expected out of a fourth round rookie. He was quick. He was fast. He almost got a fumble too, which would have been big for Barrett Carter, but Jaylen Warren was down. But Logan Wilson, having him out on the field, I think just makes a difference. I do like Barrett Carter. I'm all for the rotational, keeping these guys fresh, kind of exactly what the Steelers do with their linebackers, rotating in, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, Jack Sawyer, TJ Watt. They keep them on a rotation to keep them fresh. It's not because they think TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith is bad, obviously. They want these guys on rotation. So that's what the Bengals are trying to do. Awesome. All for it. But if we're benching Logan Wilson permanently, I don't know if I'm a fan of that. However, another interesting move that the Bengals made was they healthy scratched Cam Taylor-Britt. Now, Cam Taylor-Britt is a guy who I believe his second year in the league, he was really good. Everyone was super excited about him. And then since then, he's just kind of fallen off or been super wishy-washy. And, that was concerning. He was a healthy scratch. So what was going on? Was this a punishment thing? Has he not been given his all in practice? He's kind of been a fan favorite at points, and now he's kind of just up in the air. So he didn't play. And Al Golden kind of asked some of the younger corners to step up. And one of those guys did step up in a huge way, and he's been stepping up all season, but he's been kind of going underappreciated. DJ Turner, oh my gosh, this guy had a great game. He stole the ball from DK Metcalf. Like, what the heck? He ripped it out of DK Metcalf's hands and got the interception. It was a phenomenal play. DJ Turner now leads the league in passes defended with 13. The next closest is Keyshawn Nixon with 9. And then Tyson Campbell, who just was traded to the Browns, he has 8. So the Bengals defense, for being bad, got some guys on it. They've got some dudes who are making some plays. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they've got some dudes making plays. Going back to Jordan Battle. Jordan Battle is tied for second in interceptions. Let me make sure I got this right. Yeah, he's tied with Kirby Joseph, Jalen Petrie, Kevin Byard, and that's it. They're all tied at 3 interceptions this season. And then if you scroll down a little bit, I think DJ Turner he's tied. DJ Turner's tied at 6th with 2 on the season. So that's 5 interceptions between just 2 guys on that secondary. So let's just keep that up. Keep creating those turnovers. And then the Bengals have to capitalize on those. So shout out DJ Turner. Keep doing what you're doing. You looked phenomenal yesterday. Demetrius Knight is another guy I just wanted to highlight. I just love Demetrius Knight. He had a play where it was super obvious it was a screen. Photo of Demetrius. There it is. There it is. There's Demetrius Knight. Anyway, I don't know why that wasn't popping up. But Demetrius Knight, he had a high IQ play. There was a play that, 2 weeks ago, this probably would have worked. But it was a very obvious screen play. The receiver, can't remember if it was a running back or just a regular receiver, but they kind of were inching out wide, and Demetrius Knight dropped his coverage and just came in and got the tackle for a loss. It was a huge play, and it ended up putting the Steelers in 3rd and long, I believe. And something else that the defense, I promise we'll get to the offense. Well, I promise we'll get back to the offense, but I really want to highlight the defense because they get crapped on so much. And they played really well last night. And they've played well, I think, in the last few games, but the offense just hasn't been there. And last night, everything just kind of clicked. The defense did a really good job of getting Aaron Rodgers flustered early. There were they got some quarterback hits in. Again, they didn't get that sack, but they got some uh, nice pass breakups. He was making errors. He got in his head. He was getting frustrated. You could see it on his face. Aaron Rodgers is someone who you can see his emotions easily on his face. This photo was from when Roderick Jones went to go celebrate with him and accidentally knocked him on the ground and almost like fell on him. And obviously Aaron didn't like that. Roderick Jones is like 300 and some pounds. So having him fall on your 41-year-old quarterback, probably not the best thing in the world. But the point is Aaron Rodgers was flustered. Now, of course, he's Aaron Rodgers, so he's going to, kind of bring it back together. But if you can make a move on one of those flustered moments, on one of those error moves, that's how you win football games against quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers. And the Bengals capitalized in those situations, which is something they don't usually do or haven't done these past few weeks. Okay, now to the offense. I know everyone wants the offense. We talked about Chase Brown. Obviously, he had a fantastic game, 108 yards, 11 attempts. T. Higgins also had a fantastic game. T. Higgins had 96 yards, 6 receptions. That's a 16 yards per catch average, and he had a touchdown. But the star of the show, the star of many fantasy football teams last night, this is like crazy stats here. These two, and this is how this team needed to play. This is how we've talked about it. We're like, you can take the long shots every once in a while if they're there. They took one to Yoshi and he got it. And it wasn't even supposed to go to Yoshi. It was supposed to go to Chase, but that safety was so worried about MarrChase that he dropped and Yoshi was wide open for a big play. So that's the type of also insight you get with Joe Flacco. But Joe Flacco was able to quickly get the ball out. And Chase wasn't just, having no one on him. He had guys like Jalen Ramsey on him, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And so for Joe Flacco to put the ball where MarrChase needed to be on his in route or his out route, MarrChase was reading the leverages so well that he was running himself open, and then Joe Flacco was throwing the ball to where MarrChase should be, which is something we're used to seeing with Joe Burrow. But we're not used to seeing that with a quarterback who's been with the team for 10 days. That is insane chemistry. Now, yes, Joe Flacco probably knows the routes. An in route and an out route is a pretty simple thing. But still, that chemistry, that know-how, that confidence that he's going to turn at the right time that you throw the ball, that is something that comes with time. And the fact that they've already mastered that is phenomenal. That's beautiful. And it resulted in a ton of quick passes that resulted in first downs. It resulted in eating up the clock. It resulted in 16 receptions for 161 yards and a touchdown. He averaged 10.1 yards per reception. That means he averaged a first down every time he caught the ball. That is crazy. And a lot of these were just dink and dunk passes. And that's honestly fine. If that's what the Bengals need to do to win games, that's kind of what we expected. And if you have that run game, you can kind of do that because then, and this is what the Steelers were doing because Mike Tomlin got worried about the run game because he's like, the Bengals have a bad run game. Why are we struggling with the run game? He started stacking the box. When you stack that box, that leaves your guys wide out here with less people around them, right? If you got 9 guys in here, well, then you can only have 2 on the outside. I don't know that they had 9 in here, but you get the point. You get the premise. That allowed Chase to be one-on-one. And MarrChase one-on-one is dangerous. It's as dangerous as it gets. And you can just do a quick throw outside, and MarrChase, even though it might even be caught behind the sticks, MarrChase is going to just, zip around that one guy. That's how it goes. I thought this was phenomenal. This is how this Bengals team needs to play football. This is how they need to play against the Jets. This is how they need to play against the Bears. This is how they need to play against the Steelers the next time they play. Because the AFC North is not great this year. The Bengals are 3-4, and they're in second. The Ravens and Browns are both 1-5. Now, Lamar is expected to come back in week 8. We'll see if that happens. We can't control what we can't control. But the Bengals have a fairly easy schedule here. And this, I know I said there were some games they should have won. I still think there were some games they should have won. Honestly, I think they should have beat the Packers. But they just didn't. But that's okay. The past is in the past. We're looking to the future. They have the Jets. They should beat the Jets. The Bengals team that played last night should beat the Jets. They should also beat the Bears. Then they get a bye week, and they go to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers again. They already have 2 division wins. And they haven't played the Ravens yet. They've played the Steelers once and the Browns once. There is an opportunity here for the Bengals to, even if there's a tie, they could very quickly get the tiebreaker with the division record. So this team needs to play inspired. They need to continue to play football that inspires this fan base, because that's going to keep people coming to the games. That's going to keep people excited. That's going to keep the home team loud. These next 2 games are home games. Let's make them feel like home games. The Jets and the Bears should not be able to come in to Paycor Stadium and feel like they are in control. Do not let those teams have that. Joe Burrow is expected. I don't know if you can hear that. Someone just rang the doorbell. But Joe Burrow, we now have confirmation, is expected to be back in mid-December. Okay? That's playoff time. That's the witching hour for playoffs. All you have to do is be in contention. If you have Joe Burrow and you get him back mid-December, let's see here. Let's say he comes back December 14th. That's after the Bills game. They play the Bills on December 7th. He comes back for the Ravens game. We'll see what they go Ravens, Bills, Ravens. So we'll see what the Ravens look like then, what their injuries look like. But then after that, you get Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns. That's a very easy walk into the playoffs if you have Joe Burrow and you're still in contention. So just keep this team in contention. O-line, get right with Joe Flacco. Get used to having Joe Flacco back there. But be ready for Joe Burrow to come back, because it's going to happen. And miracles do happen. Crazy stuff happens. It's football. We will talk more about this game on Tuesday with Wednesday. Excuse me. With Chuss, and we'll get his side of things too. He's a Steelers fan, get his breakdown, and we'll go back and forth, and I'll have more analysis as well. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video. I just wanted to do a quick little exciting breakdown about this team because they played so well last night. I love this team. Yes, there's still stuff to improve, but I'm hyped. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that episode coming up on Wednesday, hopefully. And make sure you comment. Let me know if there's anything you noticed last night that the Bengals did really well or they did really poor that you think they should fix. That way I can look for that when I'm watching film. And then likes help us as well. It takes you literally 1 second, but it helps us a ton with the YouTube algorithm. So anything you can do to help us, we appreciate. But until next time, go do something nice for someone.